Today we're going to talk about covalent bonds and the compounds that they form. So a covalent bond is formed between two nonmetals, which is different than an ionic bond, which is formed between a nonmetal and a metal. So covalent bond, instead of an ionic bond where the anions are stealing electrons, in a covalent bond the two nonmetals are going to be sharing the electrons. Each covalent bond is made up of two electrons. They form molecular compounds which have low boiling and melting points. Alright, so naming compounds is not very difficult. The first element is going to keep its name. If the subscript in front of the first element is 1, then it doesn't have a prefix. If it has a number, then it will have a prefix. For the second element, you're always going to end it in "ide." The second element also will always get a prefix, no matter what the number is. So our prefixes here, so mono is for 1, di is for 2, tri is for 3, tetra is for 4, penta for 5, hexa for 6, hepta for 7, octa for 8, nona for 9, deca for 10. These are written on your handout as well. So let's do the first 4 examples on your handout. The first one, the answer on your handout is incorrect. I'm sorry about that. But let's do the correct answer now. So we have N2O5. So using what we just learned, we know that we're naming our first one, so nitrogen. And since it has a 2 as its subscript, in front of it we would put di. So dinitrogen, and then 5 is penta, so it would be dinitrogen pentaoxide. You have to remember that the end of our second element always ends in "ide." Alright, so let's do the next one. So here, we see that phosphorus doesn't have a subscript, so we don't need to put a prefix. Phosphorus, and then we have 3 chlorines, so that would be trichloride. So you also have to be able to go from the name back to the formula. So for here we have carbon monoxide. Carbon, it doesn't have a prefix in front of it, so that tells us that it's just 1. And then oxide tells us that we have oxygen, and mono tells us that we have 1. So we have 1 carbon and 1 oxygen, CO. Tetraphosphorus decoxide. So tetra tells us that we have 4 phosphorus, so P4, and then oxide tells us that we have oxygen. Deca tells us that we have 10 of them, so P4O10. There's 2 more examples on your worksheet. Make sure you're able to go back and forth between those as well.